Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back. So, guys, as part of this session, I'm going to talk about the access modifiers. So, what exactly these access modifiers are? So, these access modifiers control the visibility and accessibility of a class members, which is the properties and as well as the methods. Using these access modifiers, you can set the visibility for those things. So, how are we going to set that particular visibility, Surendra? So there are three different access modifiers that we have: public, private, and a protected. Public allows a class member to accessible within the class or another classes outside that particular file also. And by default, if you haven't specified any access modifier, your TypeScript will be considering public as its a default access modifier. Perfect. So public means within the class I can access it, outside the class I can access it, even in another file also I can access it using this public. If you define something as a private, it can be accessed within the same class itself. Outside the class, you can't access that particular private information. Whereas moving on to the protected within the same class, and if at all any subclasses are there within the same file, right? Those classes can also be accessed this protected information. Perfectly all right. So what I'm gonna do right now is let me create a new file. So examples for access modifiers. Okay, examples for access modifiers.ts. And again, we need to create a class for this. I'm defining it as a class student info 7. Okay, I'm defining it as a student info 7. As part of this particular student information, I'm defining a variable public student name. Okay, public student name. And then the next one after this particular one, I'm gonna define my constructor. And in this particular constructor, I'm gonna assign this value. Okay, so here we have a student name and we have a constructor. And let me try to use a display method, right? So directly print info student name. I'm directly printing this print data. That's it. I have just created this particular one. And now let a student is equal to new student of a John. That's it. So when I run this particular program, the public information is accessible. Okay, the public information is accessible. Perfectly all right. So let me create one more class. Okay, examples for access modifiers 2.ts. So here student info 8. I'm defining my student info 8. So here I'm defining private name as a string. And again, I'm using my constructor here. Okay, and I'm using my constructor and I'm just trying to print this particular data too. Okay, and I'm just trying to print this particular data too. So if the student one isn't accessible, define it as a student 11. Yeah, student 11. Automatically it got updated. So there is an issue here. Let us see. The class is starting here, and let me maximize it and let us check whether it is ending properly or not. See, the class is starting here, the class is ending here, and we do have these braces. Just delete it. Okay, perfectly all right. So I have defined it as a private, and I am trying to access that information within the same class itself. So perfectly all right. So when I run it, of course, okay, so just save it, run it. So when I run it, automatically the information is being accessible. Okay, so what is the issue here? Just one second. I think there is an issue with this particular private. So let me just look into this. So private student info. What happened? Student info 8, private constructor, and this is the name. This is dot name, and I'm trying to call it here using this particular John. Whatever the John that I have given, it's going in. Okay, fine. Let me run it and look at it here. Okay, the error message it is saying as unable to compile the TypeScript, cannot find a student one. Okay, did you change mean? Okay, so I just changed the name here. Okay, so I just changed the name to student 11, and here I'm using a student 1. See guys, if you observe right now in line number 15, I'm referring my object instance as 11. In line number 16, I'm using it as a 1. This does has an issue. So that's the reason here we need to change it to 11. So let me change this value to 11, and let me try to run this particular program. Okay, let me try to run this program and check it out. The private information got accessed within the class. Now, let me create a new file, example for access modifiers 3.ts file, and the class student info 9 basically, and here protected student name. Okay, I have my protected student name. Okay, I have my protected student name, and within this particular one I'm defining a constructor, where in this particular constructor I'm just assigning this particular value, and I'm using my print method in printing that information, and here I was just passing this 12. Okay, student 12 dot a print data. That's fine. Perfectly all right. So when I run it, the protected data is also printing down to the console. Perfect. So Surendra, I just want to understand how exactly the subsequent class can access it here. Right. So what I'm gonna do right now here is, let me close this one. So the student info 9 is one class which is having just a constructor. Consider that this is having a just a constructor. Okay, let me delete this one too. Now, class student info 10, and this 10 is extending the student info 9 basically. Okay, this 10 is extending the student information 9, and here as part of this particular extends, I'm just using this print data method. Okay, I'm just using this print data method. As part of this particular print data, okay, as part of this particular print data, I'm trying to get the data from its parent. Okay, extends is the keyword that I have used. Okay, perfectly all right. Let me close this. Okay, perfectly all right. Let me close this. So here, student 10 is the one that it is extending my student 9. Cannot find a name, student info 9. What happened? So this is what my student info 9. Copy this name, update it here. Okay, the name itself I have written it as a wrong, guys. So that's the reason. I don't have a T there. I try to retrieve it using a 3. T extends. I used an extend. So here, this is my subsequent class. Okay, this is my subsequent class. Okay, and right now, let a student 12 is equal to, I'm creating an instance to this particular child class. Now, when I run it, okay, now when I run it, the same information is being printed down. So here, what we have done, student info 9 is the parent, and for the student info 9, we are extending in another class, which is a student 10, in which you are trying to access this particular information. Okay, wherein which you are trying to access this particular information. And if you look at this particular comparison, guys, the public can be accessed within the same class, within the derived class, and outside the classes also. The private can be accessed within the same class, and it won't be accessed from the derived classes or outside the classes, whereas the protected can be accessed within the same class, within the derived classes, and not outside this particular class. Okay, perfectly all right. This is all about the access modifiers, guys. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.